Hello and welcome to the Freedom Frequency Podcast. I'm your host, Kaya, energy healer, psychic channel, and spiritual mentor for women who are ready to ditch the spiritual rulebook, release the pressure and overwhelm, and let go of all that comparison that makes you feel like what you're doing isn't enough. In this podcast, I'm going to share bits of my journey with you, as well as my wisdom and knowledge to show you that spirituality gets to be something that works for you and not something that you work for. Now let's dive into today's episode. Today, I want to give you a little pep talk for if you have been feeling lately like you don't have enough time, you don't have enough energy to work towards your goals and to manifest your desires into your reality and see the personal growth and evolution that you're desiring right now. If you have been thinking like, oh, I wish I had more time to do this, meditation practice, or I wish I had more time to do gratitude journaling, or whatever it is for you, whatever you love to do, whatever makes you feel good, whatever you've been putting on the back burner because you just don't have the time. First off, I see you. I see you so deeply. I run multiple businesses. I'm a stay-at-home mom with my son. He doesn't go to daycare, so I'm with him 24/7. I have my husband that I show up for, my family that I show up for. Obviously, I have hobbies, and I've got, we got shows to keep up with on Netflix. Who's watching Love is Blind? It's crazy this season. But my point is we all have tons of stuff on our plates. And so I know for me, having all this, stuff on my plate, things to do, I have found myself multiple times in this spiral of if I had more time to commit to this meditation practice, then I would probably be seeing more spiritual growth, which honestly is probably true if I wasn't not doing it at all. So this would get me in this place of thinking well, I don't have the time because I want to do this 20-minute meditation and I don't have 20 minutes. I have things to do. I have other priorities and whatever it is. So I would end up not doing it at all. Because if I don't have the 20 minutes, what's the point in starting it, being halfway through? No one likes to be interrupted midway during a meditation, right? So if you're resonating with this and you're feeling yes, I keep putting my personal growth on the back burner, I keep putting my desires on the back burner because I don't have time. Or maybe it's you don't have energy, right? So maybe it's the end of the night. If you're a mom, maybe put the kids to bed, or, whatever it is. If you're not a mom, maybe you just finished washing up the dishes from supper and it's it's 8 p.m., right? And you kind of have two choices here. Do you just flick on Netflix, numb out for the night, catch up on Love is Blind, or I don't know if you're into Real Housewives or something. I've never seen it, but I know that that's popular. Or do you, get out that meditation you've been meaning to do, grab your journal, watch that training that you signed up for, whatever. And oftentimes we can fall into, I don't want to say fall into the trap, but we choose the first one, right? We choose the easier one. It's easier just to flick on Netflix and, chill out for the night, throw on a movie, whatever, than it is to say I'm gonna, get out my journal. I'm gonna get out my laptop and whatever you're planning on doing that you knew was gonna move the needle forward. And so sometimes it's not even about the time, it's about the energy, right? And so I found myself even wishing if I had more time in the morning, then I would probably do stuff because I'm a morning person. But I get really tired come the evening when it gets dark out. I don't want to do things anymore. So maybe I have the time, but I don't have the energy. So now I wish I had more time at this, this time that I've told myself I'm more productive, right? And so there's just always, this intricate web of excuses for no better word, So if you resonate with this and you're feeling it's me, yep, I do this all the time, then I have a little pep talk here. This is something that has been brought up to me a few times this week. People have been, dropping in saying like, oh, like I wish I had time to do this. And like, I even had someone who was wanting to sign up for my program, Mirror Mirror. And she was like, I don't know if I have the time. And it's like, I get that. I totally do. Cause I've thought the same too about signing up for a program that I knew was going to like propel me forward in some way. And I'm like, I don't have the time to listen to trainings. I don't have the time to show up on live calls. Like, and there's all these excuses when really I could make the time. And so sometimes it does come down to the fact that like you could make the time if you wanted to, and priorities, which is, an obvious thing, right? Like, what are you prioritizing? Could you squeeze in time? But that's not really what I want to talk about today, because I think that we're all big girls here. We can all decide if we can prioritize things in our life. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking like, I haven't been prioritizing, I was going to say stop this episode and just go and do that, because that's step one, but keep listening because there's still going to be nuggets in here. So the other piece that I want to focus on more in this episode is like the fact that it doesn't have to take a lot of time and it doesn't have to take a lot of energy. Because I think that's where we start to self-sabotage ourselves, thinking like, when I go back to the program example, like the girl who was like, or the woman, I hate saying girl, but I always say it, who was like, I don't know if I have time for this program. Like, I don't know if I have time to show up on these live calls. And I get that. I'm the queen of never showing up on a live call. Like, if my coaches know, like if I show up on the live call, they're like, oh my gosh, you're here. I'm like never there. I'm too busy. And that's fine. And I could prioritize it potentially if I wanted to, but like there are some times where, you don't, right? And there are other priorities. So what I really want to anchor in here in this example is like, it doesn't matter the amount of time that you have. It doesn't matter the amount of energy, because transformation, growth, evolution, manifestation, like all of these things, they don't require a lot of time, and they don't require a lot of energy most of the time either. And if we're getting really like technical here, time is just a construct, right? Time is just something that we as humans made up to help ourselves, keep track of time, keep track of our lives. And, it's a more functional masculine structure. But in the quantum field of energetics, all there is the now. There isn't time. So what this, kind of brings up for me, and what something I like to think about all the time when I think about, I want to do this 20-minute meditation, I don't have time. I think about, well, if time doesn't actually exist, like if time is just something that we made up as humans, then why would it matter energetically, right, in the quantum field, whether I meditated for 20 minutes or whether I meditated for 5 or for 1, right? Like light bulbs going off in my head. And when I thought of this for the first time, I was like, yeah, like, why? And I know that part of it is like, we're living in a human body, right? And the human body needs time to relax or whatever into a meditation. But then I asked the question, well, why do I have to do that? Right? Like, why do I have to relax into a meditation every time? Like, why do I have to go into this like subconscious state? Sure, it can be more powerful in some styles of meditation to do that. But if I have the choice between not meditating at all because I don't have the 20 minutes, or doing a 5-minute meditation and anchoring into the belief that that is just as powerful as the 20-minute one I would have done, then I'm going to choose the 5-minute one, right? And like this comes back to just the basic idea of like, it's better to do something than do nothing at all. So it's better to do a 5-minute meditation than, not do one at all. But also shifting the belief that like, because you chose to do the shorter thing or the easier thing, that it isn't as potent or powerful is the second piece of this, because we can, take this concept and apply it and think like, okay, well, instead of doing 10 journal prompts, like what if I just did 1? What if every day I did 1 journal prompt? And what if even it was the same one? What if every day I woke up and I asked myself, what do I desire from today? And that was it. And that was all I did. That was all I journaled on. And some people feel like, well, I want to journal on like 10 questions and get really deep and get right down in there and whatever, which is amazing. Like if you have the time for it, awesome. You can make the time for it, great. If you want to split it up into 10 different chunks in the day, even better, right? That's prioritizing and finding the time and making it work. But what if you also just decided that doing the one journal prompt was impactful too? Because we can, like I said, implement these things and decide like, yeah, I'll just do this one journal prompt every day. And, I listen to Kaya talk in her podcast and like, she said to just do like to, trim it down and do what I had time for. So I'm going to do it. And you can do that. But if your belief in the back of your mind is still, well, it's not as good as if I had done, this other thing, or like this thing that in my mind I believe is more potent or powerful or whatever, then, you're not going to see the same results as you're hoping for, right? So the main piece here is one, implementing and, doing the thing and actually showing up in whatever way you can with the time and energy and resources that you currently have available to you or that you can make available to you by prioritizing. But the second and most important piece is coming back to the belief that that's just as good as, whatever else. And I think sometimes this is where we can get caught up in the game of comparison, especially when we see people on like social media who are like, here's my 2-hour morning routine to anchor into my higher self embodiment or whatever, right? And we're like, yeah, that looks vibey. That looks amazing. That would feel amazing. If I did that, I would feel like, on cloud 9. And then we get in this place of like, but I don't do that. I don't have time for that. I don't have like those things that she has, that coffee maker. I don't have like, white linens on my bed. I don't have like a huge window that opens up with like sunshine pouring into my room or whatever. And we get in this comparison spiral. And then we end up feeling like, oh, my one journal prompt this morning, like it's nothing. It's rat poop on the ground compared to what this other girl is doing on TikTok or whatever, right? And so this is where this piece is so important, that we really focus on like, what I do and what I have the time, energy, money, resources, whatever, to show up for is perfect for me. So even if we can't shift the belief that it's just as good as that 2-hour routine, because that can be hard to get behind, even for me to think about, like my one journal prompt is just as powerful as a 2-hour morning routine. Of course, my mind doesn't wrap around that. Of course, I still feel like there would be more benefit to doing this 2-hour morning routine. But right now, that's not my circumstance, right? Like it's just not in my reality currently, and that's okay, right? I can start working towards creating that reality. But right now, today, tomorrow morning, I'm not going to wake up in a different house with white linens and like, some $800 coffee machine or whatever. I don't even drink coffee anymore. But like, so I know that like, instead of, being trapped in that mindset of like, it's not as good. What if I shifted into the belief of like, what I'm doing is perfect for me. What that girl is doing is perfect for her, but what I'm doing is perfect for me and the journey that I'm on right now. And maybe one day, maybe a month from now, maybe 6 months from now, maybe 6 years from now, whatever, I might be living, a different life and doing a 2-hour morning routine. But right now I'm not. And that gets to be okay. And that gets to be perfect for me. And I get to experience my growth and evolution at a rapid rate for me, doing what I can do. So it's coming back to the self, coming back to not looking at what others are doing, not comparing yourself to others, not seeing, the time and energy and resources that other people have and comparing what you have to that, but knowing that the time, resources, energy that you have to show up in the way that you show up for your goals and your desires is enough. So if all you have time for is, to have some intentionality in your thoughts while you have a shower every day, that's perfect. Double up on it, right? Like I love to double up on things. I always share this with people. Like if you don't have more time and like you can't create more time in your day, double up on things. What can you do like while brushing your teeth? Like I love to, like when I'm brushing my teeth, look at myself in the mirror, like look at myself in the eyes and think nice thoughts about myself, right? Like look at myself and brushing my teeth and looking in the mirror and I think like, damn, you're so audacious, you're so powerful, like you're going for your dreams, like I'm so proud of you. And like I was gonna brush my teeth anyway. So now I'm doubling up on something, right? And now I'm like able to do like a little bit of inner work. And as I do that every day, multiple times a day, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm looking in the mirror, like sure, sometimes I might be distracted while I'm brushing my teeth if like my son's there or whatever, but most days I get to do it at least once by myself. So now I can focus on what I'm doing. And like, even though it's not, creating a different pocket of time in my day, it's just multitasking and something I was already going to do, that changes things. And I think sometimes we forget that small changes add up. Changing one habit creates a huge ripple effect, right? So it doesn't have to be this like 2-hour morning routine. I always use that as an example, but like, what if it was just changing your habits that you're already doing? What if it was like, you're going to make breakfast anyway, why don't you throw on a song that makes you feel good? You're going to have a shower anyway, why don't you say some affirmations in the shower? Right? Like, what are you already doing? Like you're already driving in the car on the way to work maybe, or on the way to drop your kids off at school, or whatever you do that you go out in the car. Maybe it's just once a week you go grocery shopping like me, and that's the only time you ever drive. And even then I don't drive usually because my husband drives. But like if you have one time a week that you're in the car, can you put on a podcast? Can you put on a training that's going to help you to learn, right? So it's about making the time that you have the most impactful and realizing that it's perfect for you, and that changing one habit like that, doing one thing, adding in one thing, makes a huge ripple effect and creates massive momentum over time. So I hope this landed for you. As always, send me a message if this resonates for you, if you want to chat more about it, if you love this episode, if you have any requests of things you want me to talk about. I'd love to hear from you. And beyond that, if you are wanting to dive more into this type of work, Mirror Mirror is currently open and enrolling. We're starting November 6th, and I'm going to be making all of the module content relatively short and sweet. There's not going to be like hour-long trainings, so they're easy to plug into in the car while you're making breakfast, put it on in the shower. You do have time, you do have energy, and I'm here to support you. So the link will be in the show notes for that if you're interested. And otherwise, I will see you on the next one.